Join Dalton and Jacob as they discuss the ever-changing world of trading card games. TCG Buzz starts now.
Nope. It was D.
Yeah, it's D for Dalton.
D for Dalton. I should have known.
What's up, Buzz Squad? It's your boy Dalton. Back at it again.
Oh.
Coming back from Atlanta. Good time. Good time. Too bad we couldn't top or anything like that.
Our trip to Atlanta was super fun, but I'm still recovering from it. It was, we drove 15 hours there, stayed for, one night?
Yep.
And then
15
went to the tournament, played all day, and then drove 15 hours home.
Oh, yeah. It was a good time. Good time. But today, we talking irregulars list, huh? It's only a matter of time before we get the new update or whatever, or at least those idiots from TCG Buzz talking about it. But wait. I forgot we're those idiots.
Yeah, these TCG Buzz guys, they keep talking about the irregulars list over and over and over again, and they're right most of the time. So, yeah, we wanted to take a stab at talking about the irregulars list, specifically now, because the Buddyfight meta's in a very interesting place. Very different from what it's previously been. We've got a couple top decks and then a bunch of stuff that's bubbling under. But also it's just interesting because I don't know if you guys know this, but like the newest card that is on the list, not like the newest added, but the newest release card that's been placed on the irregulars list is over a year and a half old.
What?
Yeah, we haven't had any new cards added to the list since New World Chaos. That means everything, according to Bouchard, from X2 is fine, and everything from Ace is fine. And I don't think that's quite accurate. Now, this is a hard topic for us to take up for you guys because, it's really easy to just go, oh, well, gee. TCG Buzz just hates the meta and they hate the card game and they're just haters, so their opinions are irrelevant. No, we are trying to be fair with the choices we've picked for this list, not overly harshing decks, even if they're decks we don't really like or we think are overpowered, because we know what it's like to get your main deck banned. It hurts. What we're trying to do is just make some adjustments to make things a little more diversified. What did you say?
What are you talking about your deck dying about? It's not like Plague's gonna be dead during set 7 and onward. Damn, Time Dragon's ruining all my fun. Yeah, we try to be fair. Kind of looking at it, there's really not much, at least not yet. It seems like we have to wait for set 6 and 7 to really see how everything turns out. Because what? Dimension Dragons, per usual, do Dimension Dragon thingies, but which is kept in check with Roselia, which is aggro, which is semi-kept in check by Prism Dragons, a.k.a. Thor.
It's almost like we have a rock, paper, scissors meta at this point.
Get outside!
Which
is actually healthy for the game, but it's not healthy.
I hate rock, paper, scissors metas, personally, because we've got like 10 different decks that are super cool that are just bubbling under, that in any other format would be great, and they'd see tops and experimentation and play and play and play. But right now we're in this sort of rock, paper, scissors meta between Roselia and Prisms and Dimension Dragons.
I would almost...
And
whoa, I'm gonna cut you off in there. Cut you off right there. I would actually almost argue that it's combo versus aggro versus wall control.
But here's the thing with that. We have one of each of those that are playable. And I'm going to say this, like flat out.
Playable?
Yes. We have tons of other great decks that are being kept out because those 3 decks are oppressive. Like, you could say if this was a format where it was just Roselia topping, people would be losing their minds. But because we have 3 decks that are drastically overpowered that keep each other in check, everyone says it's fair and balanced when it's not. You know, it just happens that we have 3 tier 0 decks, not 1.
Is it really tier 0 if they can lose, though? Wouldn't that make it tier 0.5?
I don't know. It's
tier
tough to
1?
say. But you get what I'm saying, right?
Kind of, but not the whole tier 0 thing. That thing I don't get. If anything, they're tier 1. And then you have a lot of tier 1.5s and 2s that are trying to bubble up, like Zodiac. Bryce did pretty good. One reason why he didn't get up there was because outside of Jack having all the good draw support, there's no good draw support in Star Dragon World. Who else? What else was everyone else playing?
I was playing Demonine Shenanigans, which are very fun. And
Yeah, but we all know the reason why he couldn't do well.
if it was someone else playing the deck, it would have topped.
Yeah, I still think we should have. If we would have known that Austin Summers was going to be there, we totally would have been like, here, play this deck and win.
Yeah, my infamously bad luck struck again, but you guys will hear more about that some other time. The deck itself it's too good, and it's not even good in a fun way. It's just unfair. I'm just really unlucky, and I always have been. And there are plenty of documented cases of
I played Legend Dragons, did basically Legend Dragon thingies, just prisms, man. Tough matchup. And playing against Austin Summers doesn't help either. But that's besides the point.
I have to say I'm not a big fan of our current format. I think Ace, as it started, was relatively healthy. It still shut down most of what came before it, but you had a good variety of decks and strategies throughout the season. And by the time we hit the Draw Night and then into the War of Dragons and Blazing Overclash and everything, something along the way broke. And I do think the format's less fun. I don't know how you feel about that.
Sorry, I was distracted by chat. What was that?
I'm saying that I think our current format is not as fun as early Ace was.
I could see where you're coming from with that. But to be fair, you would not have your Dimensionine or Demonine, whatever you want to call it, if it was early Ace. Early Ace was definitely far more broad in its meta scene. I feel like it's still the same. It's just the fact that it gets overshadowed by the top 3. Because I was kind of surprised in how many Knights we saw there, how many random dungeon mix was there.
But when it comes down to it, our top 8 were all
yes, I know.
Dragons or Bang Dream.
I understand that. That happens. Maybe we should have switched everyone's deck before playing, Maybe you should have played Roselia. Maybe I should have played Zodiac. Maybe Bryce should have played Dimension. Actually, let's scratch that. Maybe Bryce should have played Zodiac. Wait, he did. Who knows? Maybe I should have played the Insta-Win deck. Maybe things would have been different.
Who knows? Maybe Jacob. Maybe I'm the guy who can come up with all the broken strategies but never play them.
Oh, yeah, there was Toilet there, too. There was someone playing Toilets.
There was tons of interest and stuff, but our big 3 decks shut them down. Now, I'm not trying to punish those decks. I'm not the type of guy who, when he sees a tier 1 or tier 0.5 or tier 0 deck come along, wants it just shut down completely. I say, okay, they clearly messed up a little bit with its power level. Let's adjust it a little bit so it's a little fairer for everyone else, but this deck still has a reasonable chance of topping. I don't want all the Dragon Rulers banned. I just want them to be fixed a little bit. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this list of cards we selected, we did not factor erratas in whatsoever.
Because Bushi doesn't really do that, but they do that.
Right, they're really inconsistent with that. So we thought it would not be a good idea to throw those into our considerations for either, because we're going to be talking about cards that are going on the list that we'd like to see, but also cards that should be removed from the list. And there are some cards we could easily pick on that list that say, oh, if they were errata'd, they could come off.
Oh, was I supposed to put that down?
We're not going to do that.
All right, starting off. Let's start off by removing cards from the ban list. Outside of the always just errata Menjo and take him off meme that we have going on here, even though that should be the case, Gear God 1000. Shout out to our boy, the Midwest Chief. Even though I feel like there is an easy FTK with the deck, but that's me.
I think it is fine. I think when you compare his power level to
the new one,
anything this season, I think it really...
Why didn't you just say the new Gear God? Keep it easy.
Sure, but I mean, like, the power levels increase so much that most of the cards on that list feel irrelevant.
It's always nice to see you talking when I'm on screen, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I got lazy because I was reading a...
As you keep doing it.
Yep.
Good
Keep
job.
talking.
Good job. Good job.
That's your cue to start talking.
Is it now?
Yes.
Let's see here. Oh, that was basically it.
Oh.
For removal from the ban list.
So we obviously things like Menjo have to be kept on with our whole no erratas rule we placed in. Dalton and
But speaking on that, actually, because even though I brought it up, Menjo was only a major problem in Legend World. I didn't see too many crazy things out there in Hero World, so why not unban him in Hero World? Or is that just too much for you?
I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder if he could be broken in that regard, but obviously you don't have nearly the mill power that you do in. Why do I feel someone would come up with like a self-mill deck using Zeta?
There's not many self-milled cards, and then
I
you
know,
can't
but
play Menjo.
Someone would do it.
But then you can't play Menjo.
Oh yeah,
Except for Impact Menjo.
Impact Menjo's the real OP card here. Actually, it's really funny comparing the two. Like, fundamentally, they're kind of the same idea, right? But Impact Menjo is so much worse.
And there might be something with that. I think there was a deck with both Menjos in it for a Menjo loop type deal, but it didn't do as much as the wider Sakal Fairy Menjo.
Ace of Spades, believe me, I'd love Obstruct back at 4, but you can't do that without fixing it somehow. I love Obstruct. It's one of my favorite cards in the game, but it is problematic when, a player's allowed to go first, storm off like crazy, then hit their opponent with that Obstruct, and, so it needs to be balanced out somehow before it can return. And I'm not really sure what the right way to do that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess cards going to 3. We have nothing here. It's kind of interesting because we're one of the few games that do allow a max of 4. But if you put a card to 3, it doesn't do too much, I feel like.
It really doesn't.
So we're going to go cards going to 2 because we haven't had one of those yet. It should be coming, I feel.
Yeah, I think Bushiroad should utilize limiting things to 2 more often because it's a way to hit something and make it less consistently possible without ruining a strategy.
Or, oh, my bad. Yeah, strategy or deck.
Right. Like, if you have your key card hit to 1, that fundamentally hurts and makes it entirely luck-based that you're going to get it off. Look at any Darkness Dragon World deck relying on Overturn Abigail, right? Oof. But things going to 2
makes things
makes
a little
it
interesting.
Yeah, it keeps things interesting without being so oppressive.
So the first card going to 2, we think should be Dimension Dragon Epis. Just because there's too much digging in Dimension Dragons. It would slow them down a lot, but you won't upright destroy Dimension Dragons from being the main Lost World deck.
No, and it's funny because, who knows? There's always occasions where your opponent in top 2 has all of their Lost Worlds engage.
Right?
It happens. Well, especially if your opponent's Austin Summers.
Well, also, I see some people saying Death Talica or Chaos Talica, whatever its name is.
Dalton and I debated that one a little. I I definitely think it should be unbanned completely in Darkness Dragon World. I think that's totally reasonable. First of all, I think there are better Talikas to be used in Darkness Dragon World.
Exactly.
The issue is in the cast. The entire thing, it's funny because it wasn't even ran all that much. It's just because of its potential to force games to time that Busho doesn't want to see it. Mm-hmm. So because that and Chaos Drain and, the sheer amount of mill power that the Chaos has, it could be really annoying. So I can see it staying as is for the cast, but why is it banned in Darkness Dragon World?
Right, because you have multi-attack Death Talca, which I feel is better, which also just gets hard cuts by Buddy Block or any resting card that prevents you from standing by effects. Then you have OG and the Evil Fort, which is the same thing as Chaos, but not. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah. Wait, why did we get onto that again?
I don't know. I kind of like...
Epis, right? We were on that.
We were on
that
Epis.
2.
Drop it down to 2. Hooray.
Another card I think is just more Dalton trying to will it, but it might not happen right away. We might have to wait for set 6 to come out for it to see what happens.
Yeah, but we're definitely looking ahead with this.
Slightly.
I'm in the camp of if something's going to be broken, you might as well preemptively hit it.
Right.
So players don't have 1 week to play things at full power and
then scoop.
Right. Exactly. So
Frieza Horse, the 2.
You're the champion of this one, so go ahead.
I'm the champion? I haven't topped with Legend Dragons yet.
No, but you're the one who brought it up. You're the one campaigning for this.
Well, it's fair. It's very simple. You can't do anything without Frieza.
Yeah, Frieza.
It's like, yes, Magma's the one with the good effects, and Frieza just protects your things. Yes, when Raw comes out, it's going to be the other one with good effects. But you can't do your things without Frieza. Putting it to 2 makes it harder to do those things. So you won't kill the deck or force people to play trial deck version.
I think it would be kind of interesting because then it does
would
incentivize people to play the trial deck version instead.
It does.
It doesn't force them to, but it gives them the option.
It gives them the option.
Which is actually pretty neat. When has that ever happened before?
Right? Especially since they are getting their own Raw as well. But it's the main thing that allows you to do all your things. Without Frieza, you can't.
So it's interesting. Blake says you should limit consistency, not the power plays. And I would totally be on board with that. Except the problem is there's so much consistency, you'd have to ban the entire deck.
Because
almost every deck we're talking about today.
Without hitting, just using Legend Dragons as the base, without hitting the stuff that's not out yet, because that would be completely unfair to those cards.
Mm-hmm.
You would hit their Legend Dragon's own draw spell, Yingle Guard, the one that checks top 5 to let you add any Legend Dragon and up to 1 Dragon.
Is that the monster?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is any Legend Dragon, mind you. So spell, item, whatever. That would also mean hitting the Searcher.
Hitting Aldwall.
Hitting Aldwall, which would be just horrible because then you kind of stop the rest of Legend World with the Yingle and Aldwall. That also means hitting... Gotta think about my deck real quick. Their set spell that they just got, you'd have to hit... Let's just say with those 7, that's way too much of the deck that you're getting rid of to try to slow down their consistency. When, in all reality, they might have all of these things, but doesn't mean their consistency is all that great. It's not like Dimension Dragons where like, oh, look, I started off so... Oh, nope, just kidding. I still go Lost World.
So, I'm just bringing these things up as they come up in chat. So I'm sorry if our discussion's a little disjointed. But Droopy in chat brings up a request to ban Antimatter Cloud. So,
why would you do that?
hang on. So that size 3 decks can actually be played. And I am at an awkward spot with Antimatter Cloud. Because on one side, it was one of my favorite cards in the game for years. I think that interesting sideboard options for decks are something that Bouchard really neglects and can really add some dynamic design to the game. I think having full-on interesting sideboard cards is healthy. But when you only have a couple real big staple ones, Antimatter Cloud is one of the most important ones, and it being limited just to one world, it does kind of feel bad.
Well,
when you want
two
to
worlds,
play,
technically.
right? Well, when you want to play an incredible size 3 deck, and there are tons of great size 3 decks, but when you go to a tournament and say, well, if I'm paired against Star Dragon World, I just lose, there is a problem with that. So it's not on our list currently. I think we'll have to wait another format to see if it should, but we might be getting to that point.
My only reason on why not to do that is then you have the problem of Legend World becoming too overpowered. Which is weird because Legend World hasn't been for so long because they're the only other world with a size 3 negate.
Which is also a spell null.
No, not spell null. Right? Yeah. It's been a minute. I can't remember.
It's a Breathen Guard and an Antimatter Cloud on one
which
card
is
glued
a little bit more restriction to it because you have to have 2 Wider Skulls on board. Well, once they get their new support, that's not going to be a problem. And the fact if you can mix in the new Fairy King in with that, you have a new, you're never doing anything anymore deck.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. I'm excited to see that.
Mm-hmm. Because who doesn't like to be that annoying troll?
And it's interesting because Antimatter Cloud hasn't been a problem for a long time because almost all of these big decks that are coming out that are the meta-defining decks, pretty much since its beginning, have mostly been non-size 3 decks. It's been, a lot of size 1 rush decks or, Gao formation-y size 2 decks, right? Or item reliant things or. It's actually quite rare for a standard size 3 deck to be that great. But we're in this format right now where they are.
Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting on how Antimatter Cloud now is such a big problem. Because if you really look at it, Roselia is all size 1, just basing it off of that. Dimension Dragons technically have 1 size 3, but you never care anymore if it gets hit. So you're like, oh well, I'll just use all my umpting other ways to get into my stuff. And the Lost World cards don't have a size. Doesn't really stop that. It hurts the mirror match with Prisms and Zodiac. Doesn't stop Astro Dragons. Doesn't stop Jackknife. I don't feel like it's going to be that strong unless Bushi decides to go more size 3 focused decks in the future.
It's hard to say. It really is.
It's hard to say for now. It's going to be put into to be watched category, if that helps. Well, that covers to be put to 2. I know it's been pretty antimattery, but
I think I would support putting antimatter to 2. I think banning it or putting it at 1 would defeat the purpose of the card.
But in my opinion, I feel like a lot of people only run it at 2, or even just sideboard 2. So it's exactly. Like one of those situations, kind of like how I felt about Overturn Abigail going to 1. It's like, well, you can only use its effect once. Yes, you win, and you're just running more copies to see it, but does it really do anything if you have it at 1?
But I feel limiting it to 2 would help with the feels bads a little,
Fair enough. But to 1, things to put to 1. I'm going to save the first item on my list for last because I know you want to debate about it.
Yes, I absolutely do. We will wait on that one. That's a contentious one.
Zero Blazer 2-1. I know a lot of people are probably thinking, more competitive people are probably thinking well, you could just reduce it. This is true. But it's the threat of, they have 3 gauge up and they have 2 Lost Vaders on board. I'm at 10 or less life. I'm dead.
Yeah. I have to agree with you on this one. I think it is too strong and too consistent of a card. It is literally in many situations, a free win the game card. It is so ridiculously easy when you're in Lost World and you're storming off to have the conditions for it, and your opponent has to deal with all your attacks and surviving that, and then still have that threat after the fact.
Or even if your opponent has an answer for when you're swinging to potentially gain life, you could just be like, I've met the conditions. Go to attack, go to final. Boop, you're dead. And then they just look at you like, okay.
It's funny because I'm very much not I hate Lost World, I hate everything about it, ban Lost World kind of guy. I think Lost World's relatively healthy, and I think it does allow some really interesting deck building. But I do think that's one of the problem cards here, and one of the big ones. And I think it's funny because we are at this point in Buddyfight where impacts have never been weaker. Almost all the impacts.
Should be back up.
Oh.
I'm just waiting until I see me on screen.
Right. Come on. Anytime now.
Everyone's just like, you got 0 Blazer.
Oh, there we go. You're on screen.
Am I?
Yep.
I don't see it on mine.
I see it on mine.
Am I back, guys? Can
Hooray.
you see me? Hey, someone in chat, remind me, where was I? If I was the last one talking.
I think we just pretty much wrapped up our discussion on the impact.
Like what impacts were used, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there are so few impacts being run. It's kind of funny that one singular impact is so strong that we'd actually seriously consider putting it to 1. I think it's a reasonable request to put that to 1. Because even if you argue it's not strong enough, you also have to factor it's just not a fun way to win the game or lose the game. You know?
Yep. I don't like being brainless when I play my Dimension Dragons. I know. I play Dimension Dragons. But it's just such a brainless deck, and then having a brainless way to win just kind of makes you like, all right, I spent the money on this. I guess I'll go and see if I top. I know I'm getting close to top 8 at the very least, right? And that's just no fun. No fun.
What's next?
Eternity Ring.
Oh boy. I'm gonna say, just talking to all the people I talked to in Atlanta, and I even had this discussion with multiple people about what should be banned while there at the tournament, and that was the number 1 card that came up. People hate this card, and I do not blame them. Prism Dragon should be good. I think having a Wally consistent, control-ish wall deck is a good thing. And I think Prism Dragons do that well. But when you give them such a powerful card that's hyper-aggressive with its destruction, it gains you advantage, it does this, it does that. I'm going to say this. If your opponent gets 2 or 3 on their first turn, it does not matter what you're playing. You are going to lose.
Well, yeah, that basically covers that, you know. I don't know. I only played against Prisms once, and they only ever got maybe 1 of them into Soul, if not 2. They never got full off, so I can't say for sure. And I was playing Legend Dragons, so all my stuff couldn't be destroyed anyways. So it's hard to say.
Now, See, that's the thing. I think Prism Dragons in general are quite healthy. I don't think there's much you need to hit from them. I think their overall advantage engine's mostly fine. I think the actual raw strength of your Athoras is perfectly acceptable. I do think this one card should be put to 1.
Mm-hmm. Just put to 1.
There are going to be Prism Dragon players who really don't like it, that I say that. But just from the feelers I put out into the community, right? People really, really, really don't like this card and really think it's oppressive.
And then if anything, we can put it to 2. You know, it's kind of in that weird spot, I feel like, because technically Zodiac has a card that semi does this, and so does the Chaos.
I forgot to mention it can also be searched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, on second thought, no, it has to go to 1. Not 2. My bad. I forgot about that, too. I forgot it was a defense. Yeah, that goes to 1. No rings for you. Oh, let's see. Oof. Well, Agonia, put to 1.
Oh, it feels bad, man. Because I want to play it in my Demonine deck, right?
But we could specify just Dragon World, remember?
Could specify just Dragon World, but I do feel...
But it's going to be hidden all.
Yeah, I do feel that would be unfair. Yeah, it should be hit. Like, more than any other card in the Dimension Dragon engine. I debated saying it should be Desuction that should be thrown on. For it being essentially crazy free advantage, but
no,
honestly...
The only reason why I say no is because it is a spell, and they do need to destroy one of their own monsters. But I can see that. If anything, put it to 2. If you want to talk about Desuck, to 2 I think would be fine. Because you're only really using it once, maybe twice. Because otherwise you'll be on Lost World doing Lost Worldy things. Hitting them with that Zero Blazer because it's not at 1 yet.
I think Agonia is fair. I don't think there's anyone who would realistically point to it if it was banned and say that's unfair. You know?
I mean, put to 1.
Yeah, put to 1. You know what I mean. It got the ban hammer.
It got hit. And yeah, I feel like that's fair. This next one's a little I wasn't 100% sure on, and Jacob's not 100% sure on, but we're saying this card because we want a spell null back at full power. But we're not sure if it getting hit will help it make that spell null come back into relevance. And that's Electro Deity of Light Amaterasu.
I'm going to say Demon Way Serufubuki died for Electro Deity's sins.
Yep.
And it's such a shame because it's not like one of those things where you can ban it in just Electro Deities because they do it by flags. It really, really sucks that it's been a hit like that for all the other Continental World decks.
Because you basically stop everybody else unless they want to play Secret Swords. And even then, that one's a hard deck to try to pull off. Don't worry, I'm trying to see what I could come up with that.
It's funny.
But then again, there might still be too much life gain in general because of Onis and like that one.
Man, I remember when Kachino World was the one world that just could not do life gain, man. Now look, it's weird because so many worlds have just completely flipped what they do. Like Kachino World used to be the world with no life gain whatsoever. And now they have probably the most out of any world, except for maybe the new Garga deck looks like it's got some good life gain to it. But like Electro Deities can gain tons of life, you know? I don't know. What do you think? Hello?
I'm sorry, I got distracted with somebody saying that Agonia can't be used during 2 turns, which is a complete and utter lie. I have done it before. That's why I ran Machining Sacrifice in the deck early on.
You stop.
It works. Sorry, we were talking about Amaterasu, putting her to 1 to see if we can get our spell null back in Katana World. But there might still just be too much life gain in general. Yeah.
Bushi, either unban that card. I'm not going to say its name again because it's hard. Or give us a new spell null for Continental World. Because Continental World deserves it. You know, when I get it, it's too good because it's life instead of gauge. Yes. But, you know, when you stare at Magic World having theirs at 4, you have Dungeon World, well, Folktale specifically with one at 4 now, you know, and you've got
Soon.
Brethengard at 4, and you know, you look at
Brethengard at 4, and with Annoying Ways of the Troll, which is another one. Then if you want to get into Star Dragon World with Shining Rain and the Drago Arms that does it.
Did you just say we need to hit Genesis Dragons? No! You leave my trash tier deck alone.
I don't know what your scene's looking like, but competitively, Genesis Dragons, they ain't doing diddly squat. They look cute. That's about it.
As an avid Genesis Dragon player, they're garbage.
Yes, Dungeon World is getting a spell note, but it is a hard specific to one archetype, so it won't become stupid busted. Hopefully.
What's next?
Yeah, hit Ozens instead. Yes, a trash tier deck. That's never been popular. I'm sorry, I'm getting too distracted. Costumes for a new Holy War.
I don't remember what that card...
Roselia Impact.
Oh. I just didn't know it by name.
Yeah.
So we wanted to hit Roselia in some way, but in a way that was fair. And frankly, you can't realistically hit their advantage engine without just ruining it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be a feels bad thing. So I think hitting their aggressiveness a little, but in a fair way, would be the best way to do it. So we decided to take it to their impact. Because their impact is, frankly, it's ridiculously easy to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the easiest gain a new attack phase things ever, right? It's just 3 gauge, and you have to have size 3 or greater on your field. Wow. So hard.
Well,
you know?
If you want to get technical on that sense, then the draw metal one's easier because it's only 2 gauge, and that's it. But that's besides the point, right? Right? All right? But otherwise, because you don't want to kill off the crossover sets as much as we've put out our dislikeness for those, you can't kill them off upright. Maybe you could attempt to kill off maybe Roselia, because then you have the other ones to work with. But also from what I've seen so far, from like checking Japanese, like locals toppings, and so far and how it's been working here, the crossover sets seem to kill each other off, weirdly enough. It's like we had Conan going rampant for a while, and then Bang Dream came out. Then Bang Dream's here now. We'll see if Idolmasters can kill off Bang Dream, and then if Yokai can do it, and then SS Gridman, and then yada, 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 yada. But it's just there. Next card, right, Jacob?
Next card.
Just because I can't remember its full name.
Is this the contentious one?
This is the contentious
Dalton
wall item.
Dalton and I have very different opinions on this one, and we could not agree. So we're going to leave it up to you guys to decide.
I'm saying put it to 1. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying ban it or anything. Just put it to 1. Make it harder.
The card we're talking about is the Lost World Wall. That it has double attack and stuff. It's cute, but its main thing is it prevents the opponent from calling anything by card effects.
Yes.
And I think that card's amazing. I think it's one of the best things Lost World has ever done. I think it's great and one of the few great counters we have to most of these aggro decks in our format. I think it's stupendous. I think it should stay at 4 forever. Dalton?
Should be at 1. It's free. It should not have been free, just like the spell mill should not have been free, just like so many things in Lost World should not have been free. But we don't talk about that, do we? We're not getting rid of it because I do think it's still needed because it does stop aggro and so forth. But then it also gives Max Dragons a chance to come back into the meta. Because remember, Max Dragons dropped off once the wall was even announced.
That's true.
I'm trying to bring back a deck here, not kill off a deck.
As someone who likes the control side of Buddyfight and hates how Buddyfight's just a game of who can call the most monsters in a single turn, I think the wall's What do you guys think? Do you think we need to build a wall or ban a wall? Uh-oh.
Why would you say build a wall?
I'm sorry.
See, the only reason why is because most people only play it at 2 anyways. So it doesn't make sense putting it to 2 because that's where it's at. And technically, they also have an item searcher because of Dimension Dragons. So it could still be searched. And there's also so much draw, so it could still be drawn into. But putting it at 1 would make it more fair, in my opinion. All right. That covers it to put to 1s. Before we get to the 1 and only get this card out of this game, we don't want it. Let's talk about a card that we're not sure how it should be approached. And that's Dimension Draw.
We really don't know.
It makes sense to have it. And like you could ban it because there's other ways to gain advantage in Lost World. But so like, does it make sense to ban it if it doesn't really change anything? Then you just run more of a monster because it draws a card when it attacks, but then
More of the other.
that's more aggro then at the same
other
time.
draw spells they've got, or
It's a mixed bag. Like, you can argue put it to 1.
and it's
but
also
like,
awkward because it's about to get reprinted, and
exactly. You know, it's an awkward
it's a
situation.
card people love to point to at why they hate Lost World, but it's not one of the worst cards Lost World has.
Exactly.
We have no idea whatsoever what to do with it. I feel like a token ban would I guess work, but it also
But it
feels a
also
little
doesn't do anything
Right.
either. Because what? You have the monster that draws when it attacks, which you can also restand. You have the Deep and Vial, which is just an Agonia as a spell. You have... I'm trying to think here. There isn't much other draw.
There's the one that destroys a monster on your field.
Oh, yeah. Destroy
then-
one of your monsters, gain 2 gauge, 2 life, and draw a card. You have, I can't remember its name, but the Double Dragon Emperor Legend. It just took a minute for me to
Yep.
recognize
Yep,
them all. There is a lot out there, so it's like it won't be missed. But at the same time, it might hurt them. It's, for me.
Yeah, it's awkward, man. It really is. I can't reasonably put my faith into banning it in any way or not banning it. It's like it's one of the few occasions where I don't have a good opinion.
Right. It's almost kind of like in the obstruct category where it's like, hey, look, everyone can do this. So they'll pop off, do their stuff, and do it. Or you put it to 1 and then, well, this person popped off, did their things, and got it, and now they're going to stop me from drawing.
Right.
Type situation. So it's...
I think the
mixed.
clear thing that needs to happen is we just need to go back in time and prevent it from being printed in the first place. That's the only win-win scenario.
It's very simple. We just put Mana Crypt into Buddyfight, right?
Ooh. Yes, I think we should add Black Lotus to the ban list.
Oh, yes, that sounds fair. Give everyone a... No, I can't think. Clear Serenity. Holy smokes.
Yes. I mean, you gain 3 gauge of any color.
If you guys have a card that you think should be on the ban list, remember, we have super chats. So you can super chat it at us. If we miss it otherwise, you know. It's there. But yeah, but not to the ban card, I guess, right?
Yeah. This is going to be fun.
Let's put the history into it. If a certain somebody here could have topped, then everyone would agree. So Austin Summers, if you're watching this, please build the deck, top with it, or somebody who's better than the person.
Somebody who's not me.
Gargantua Gate should be banned. Because
Gargantua Gate is such a stupid card, which is why I ran it. I know it sounds a little weird for me to literally want to cripple my own deck, But that deck is unfair. It ruins the game, and it makes everyone who plays it and everyone who plays against it hate Buddyfight.
Yeah.
No joke. It's awful. You should not go, yeah, man, I'm sorry you didn't get to play a single card this entire match. That happened to me in Chicago and in Atlanta.
And then you had to shower them with cards to make yourself feel better because you felt like a horrible, horrible person. Yeah, that's about it. Or I guess banning it in Ein helps.
It's the type of card where they're going to have to fundamentally keep away from one life restriction stuff unless they get rid of it. Now, I do argue, remember, we've got our no erratas rule. You could easily just as well errata it to require a dragon on field.
You know, there's another way to do this. Get rid of the dragon in its attribute.
Whoa.
Hey, it works, doesn't it? You can't play it anymore.
We're going to see, trust me on this, as time goes on, unless we get a full stop reboot for the game, these cards that set your life to blank, either it be being Gargantua Gate or Death Astray or there's one in Ancient World that sets your life to 3. There are a couple of them. Those cards are just going to get better and better and better. But Gargantua Gate's the worst of the bunch.
Because it just goes to 1.
Yep.
It should not do that. It really shouldn't. I see people saying hara hara. What are Legend Dragons? What is Link Dragon Order doing right now?
Yeah, good
Nothing.
question. Like, I get it. It's annoying. And, Master Will 3 likes to hate it. I think at this point he has a love-hate relationship with that card. I don't know how that stands. But every time I do see him in person, I give him a hara hara.
It does. You don't care about life. That's where Buddyfight's at right now. It's like, oh, cool, they gain like umpting life, but I'm playing Lost World, so I don't care. That's all I gotta say about it.
I would like to say, it already came up, and we also discussed it beforehand. Overturn Berseria.
Oh yes. Why?
Okay. I can see it on paper. Like, if Bushiroad did announce a restriction on Overturn Berseria, I'd say, yeah, I guess it makes sense, right? But it's really awkward because it's only available in 2 worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dungeon and Legend. Straight up, if it was an Omnilord, I would absolutely say it needs to be.
Oh, dude, then there was
Absolutely.
there was no debate if it was an Omnilord. It'd be 1 or, well, it's already at 1 and all the other, which is banned up, right? But it's not.
But it's not. So it's just in those 2 worlds. And surprisingly, they're worlds that don't have a lot of great options for resetting or
just going into Lost World.
Or for, getting rid of the opponent's problem cards or. And I think it adds a lot of depth to those cards that you otherwise wouldn't have, especially in Dungeon World.
Like, don't do that now. He said errata it to become an Omnilord. Don't do that.
Yeah,
you want to see the game never become fun ever again? Do that.
Because guess what deck it's getting thrown into immediately? Answer: all of them.
Yeah, I hear some people saying, yeah, using it with Lost World, but it's like, do you really play Lost World in those worlds? Like, I could see it working in Dungeon Mix because you can draw a boatload of cards, but
there are a couple of obnoxious things you can do with it in Legend World. So maybe it'll come down to Legend versus Dungeon and ban it in one of the 2. But I think for right now, it's fine. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, some people have pointed to it being able to be put on the list because it's got some combo with ECs. Oh, it's got Lost World. It becomes a free draw 6 if you're in this specific situation. It becomes this. It becomes that. It becomes that. Everyone's got a reason. But when it comes down to it, guess what? The decks that have those in them, none of them are topping.
Yet. Dungeon World is on its way, and Legend World is a set away. And yes, technically you can run it in Thunder Empire Fang, but are you really using its effect ever?
I
don't
ran
think
it
so.
because it was good in Thunder Empire 2 years ago.
Not even, like, cool, I guess. But you've already used your overturn because of another card was better for you, in my opinion. It doesn't mean anything in Thunder Empire Fang. It's more of a sideboard card in Legend World, in my opinion.
It's really funny because, like, I imagine the universe where, like, its text that just said overturn was taken off of it and it wasn't a once per game
Oh, no.
text.
Oh, no.
And how instantly ruined Buddyfight would be. And there are very few cards that you can just point to and say one tiny change on this card would absolutely 100% ruin the game forever.
Well, I guess on the Missouri thing, I guess I have to test it out in ECs, but ECs are just going to evolve into a FTK deck or a ZTK, hopefully, because it's going to be turn 0 for them. It's like your opponent attempts to do something. Nope.
It's funny because even in that situation, ECs are still going to have a bad time against certain decks, you know?
Exactly. Like, ECs are a very cool concept and all that good stuff. I love having them. I love playing them. But at the same time, they don't top.
All I'm saying is that we wouldn't even be discussing if ECs with this blah, 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 blah were a problem if Obstruct was back to 4, baby.
Hey, Jacob, you know what's funny about that? And would it matter? Because all that's going on during your turn when you can't use Obstruct.
Stop it.
But yeah, that's what we have to say about Overturn Missouri. It's cool. Also, it's getting reprinted, so it's most definitely not going to be touched for a hot minute.
Right. It's safe to assume that if your card is in the Revival collection, it's not getting hit. Mm-hmm. However, Bouchard has done stuff like that before. Don't forget, Demon Way Seravubuki was reprinted right before it was hit to 1.
Yeah.
So, maybe. Are there other cards that you'd like to see on the ban list or off the list that just aren't, that we didn't bring up because we're idiots? Please let us know in the comments on this video or on our Discord, right? And Dalton, take it away. Oh, also, this isn't our only live stream this week. Expect more tomorrow or the next day or the next day. We'll see. We're going to be live streaming a lot this week for reasons.
And with that being said, thank you for watching. You can support us on Patreon. Check out our shop. Links will be in the description down below. You can follow us on Instagram. Join our Discord if you keep on talking smack about us. Because I don't care, and Jacob has no soul because he's a ginger.
Wow.
Any final words, Jacob?
We've kind of not really gotten the chance yet to do a big video for it yet, but we did hit 2,000 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you guys so much. New special video for that. We're going to do a Season 1 showcase where we do some matches with some old school Buddyfight decks as our celebration.
We're just building the decks. That's the problem.
Yeah, we're almost there. It'll be soon-ish, probably.
Hopefully this week. And above all else, stay classy, y'all.
Thanks for listening to TCG Buzz. New episodes can be found on tcgbuzz.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For box openings, deck profiles, and more, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.